Thanks, Nathan. By
No,
the way, is my voice coming up okay? There's no feedback or anything? Echo?
there's a little bit of a kind of thing, so maybe you just want to step back, but you're very,
Yeah.
very clear.
Okay, good.
Okay,
Okay.
so everybody, thank you for joining the session here. We've got Timmy Ong, and as I was saying a moment ago before we began recording, Timmy's just got like this tech guru thing going on in his mind. So you're definitely going to get some good ideas from Timmy today. And without talking too long, I'm just going to turn it over to you, Timmy. I'm going to mute my own self here, and we'll have questions at the end. Please feel free to put them at the chat, and then we'll come to them a little bit later. Take
Thanks.
it away.
Okay. All right, guys. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with you. And so here we go. My name is Timothy Ang, and you guys can call me Timmy. Um, Today I'll be making a presentation about my hardware setup for online teaching. It's sort of been something that I've been working on these past couple of months because, as you know, a lot of classes have been done online. Just a little introduction, real quick, for this presentation. This is a beginner guide, and so I won't go too much into detail. For those who want more detail, you can contact me at the end. There are links on this PowerPoint PDF, which I will be giving later on. I encourage you to visit those when you have the time. And here we go. Okay, so today's presentation, will try to cover a variety of things, and it's about 24 slides maybe, so I might have to breeze through some of them. So I'm going to try to gloss as much as I can, but get the bulk or the meat of it going on for you guys. The first part is setting up, and then afterwards we're going to go into the hardware, like the monitor, the camera, the lighting in the background. The last part's going to be the audio, and if we have time, we're going to I'll be open for some questions, and there's also another part here for accessories. Okay, so that's pretty much what I'm going to do. So we'll start off with this. Questions before buying, anything at all before when you buy, let's say, the camera or the computer or anything. I'm assuming you're starting from scratch, but even just for upgrades, you have to ask yourself some questions, and these questions are right over there. What's your budget? How long will you use it for? Who's using it? If it's just you, or is it the entire family? You have to consider that. What will you use it for? Because if it's just for simple editing or online teaching, you may not have to get so much of a high-spec computer, which we'll get onto later. Are you going to include some of your hobbies in there? Are you also using this computer for or your microphone for video production? Who's your audience? Are you going to be talking to your coworkers? Are you going to be talking to your students? And where are you setting up? Are you doing this at your office? Are you doing it at school? Are you doing it at home? Most of this presentation will obviously be from your home online setup. There's these links that I want to show you guys, and these are just like general tips. Aim for incremental changes. Don't go for just like when you go shopping, just like don't get everything at once. Try to just simple is best. If you have something that's already in your room or something that's stored in the closet, maybe you can use that. When upgrading, consider the effort, learning, and resources involved. For example, if you're setting up a DSLR for a webcam, it looks cool, but there's a lot of work involved in that, and there's also sometimes there's money to be involved too, so you might want to consider that. Have a tape measure. This is something I've always forgotten to do, so when you guys go out, bring a tape measure, because you have to figure out if space here in Japan is sort of at a premium, and so you have to tape measure's a good idea. Or in the age of private labels, it's kind of a weird statement. Basically, when you go on Amazon, a lot of things that are like maybe China brand or just small labels that you haven't heard of, my experience is that they're relatively decent and that you can get by really well with a lot of stuff that they're selling online. Let's say web cameras or even like cheap headsets. I'll get into this later. Amazon has a lot of bots, and so you may want to just try to filter the reviews that you see on certain products with these two websites. they give you a better idea of whether the item has a good rating or not. So you take a particular Amazon product and you paste it here. Review magazines. If you're ever in a Japanese bookstore and can read Japanese, these are the two that I recommend, and their links there attached. Finally, most people know about this, but I'd also like to put it. It's for general price comparing. So if you're buying like a new monitor, go ahead and go to this website, type it in, and it'll give you a list of different prices from this monitor for like a monitor or keyboard or anything. So I use this fairly enough. So, okay. Desks. So basically, desks, so many kinds. The one that I have is the one down here on the left side. Very basic, very flat. There's different kinds. You either get the fixed one or the hydraulic. Hydraulic basically means those that go that sort of go up or down. We're talking about, of course, standing desks. If you can see here in the top part, it's my friend's, and he says he can't stand when he does work, and so he uses a standing desks. Obviously, you have other types here on the right side, which include desks with drawers. Some people actually, during this pandemic, have done their own do-yourself hardware projects. They've gone to the local hardware center and just bought like stuff, and so I'll have a list of all of these things later, so don't worry about like where to get. Like I'll have a list of like Nitori and where you can get all of these, and I'll have links later on. What is the optimal desk size? I've noticed that this is the sweet spot, 120 by 60 cm. This is what I'm using right now. I have like a 42-inch monitor here right now, and ample enough desk space to put a bunch of stuff on it. So anything smaller than this, I've found that it's very difficult for me to just do work in general. And these are links to that. Again, I recommend that you click on later when I send this PDF. One thing that I didn't consider as much is the legroom and knee space, so you might want to think about that when you're actually, my desk right now, I could raise it about by an inch because it's kind of cramped sometimes. Check for cable hole access. So when you buy a desk, make sure there's a hole on the desk so you can sort of put all of your cables through it. And make sure everything is accessible. I'm not sure if you guys can see me right now, but I always make sure when I'm conducting online lessons is that you can sort of reach and like fiddle around with the camera. You can reach and fiddle around with like the microphone. You can reach for something over here and below if you want to get paper or something, or pens and stuff like that. So yeah, basic stuff. Okay. All right. Next one. Chairs. There are different kinds of chairs. You can click on that link later. And the things that I looked for were basically neck rest, the breathability of the backside, and adjustable height. So you can adjust it at the, there's a latch there. It's number, I believe it's, you can see it there below on the picture. Some people have actually used medicine balls as well for chairs, so that's something that you might want to look into. Measure your cushion and the size of your chair. I found it really, like my cushion right now isn't the optimum, so you might want to measure that. And a lot of expensive chairs, I feel the best ones are at the 30 to 50,000 range. And I know it sounds expensive, but it's something you're going to spend a lot of your time in. So one thing, that's just what I did. I regret spending only like 10K on my chair, and I really need to replace this right now. So yeah, okay. Ergonomics, you have two pictures there, the optimum way to do it. I feel that a lot of problems can be avoided just by preventing and making sure that you have the right posture. Your wrist should be flat on the desks. I think when you first get a chair or a new desk, there's a lot of adjustment constantly until you find like your sweet spot of sitting comfortably. So don't worry if you have to adjust constantly the first week. I try to exercise 30 minutes every day. Here's some stretching exercises for you guys. And that's another link I want you guys to click on if you have the time. Okay, cycling through it again. All right, a bunch of other stuff right there. This is just more of like organization, cable management. Perforated cardboard with hooks and pegs have helped me a lot just to put This is basically that wooden thing that you see here right next to the left of the book. I recommend that because you can put a lot of hooks there and put a lot of stuff like cables and whatnot. Um, Kabebijin is a very nice website for those who live in mansions. You can sort of buy shelves that don't really damage the walls, picture stands and phone holders, acrylic boxes, wooden trays, polypropylene storage, and filing cabinets. So all of these I recommend. A monitor stand. Once you put a monitor stand, it gives you extra space below. 2x4 wood holders, and it's basically the picture that you see here at the lower right side. And what you do is sort of you create a shelf using those things, and there is a link for that, so it's actually a really fun do-it-yourself project. Yeah, and if you can, try to put everything on wheels. That way it's easy to move around, like a filing cabinet or what have you. The stores are the obvious ones, Daiso, Muji, and Frank, if you want to get like these Nix and Nax, whatever. So that's organizing your workspace. Okay, productivity at home. Designate a work area. Try to sketch your layout before you do it. Um, I have a work setup routine every day. I usually have a 10-second startup before I start things to get the camera and everything ready. I try to keep it under 10 seconds before the class starts. Keep the room temperature at about 20 to 26. Use as much natural daylight as possible. Have a dress code. I feel like if I'm in my pajamas, I never get anything done. So whatever you wear probably to the school, you might want to just wear it whenever you're having online classes. I usually manage my time by blocks of 45 minutes, and then I take a 15-minute break, and then the regular stuff, humidifiers, air purifiers, diffuser candles or fragrances. Be ready to leave when it's like when you stay at home too much, just for a quick combini trip or something like that. There's a rule that I have, but I always break, which is like turn everything off after at 9 p.m. Yeah, I need to follow that more. And finally, this is one meditating app that I recommend. You do that before you go to sleep. Keeps things in perspective. All right. Also have a pick me up playlist in the morning. All right. So that's productivity at home. And next one. The internet connection. Okay. Factors for bandwidth, you don't really, this is just a quick detail. That depend how fast your internet is data speed, signal quality, network expandability. The only thing that you need to know from this slide is always choose a physical cable over Wi-Fi, because it's the most stable and fastest. Even though sometimes the cable might get in the way, you might trip on it. And if you're getting a cable, the one to get is either a Cat 5e or 6 to future-proof your cable. Brand doesn't really matter. There's a link here that allows you to check the devices that are connected to your network. Sometimes people say that their network is their internet is slow. It's probably because a lot of things are connected to it. Could also be because of other factors, but click on that. You can find out how to do it. And finally, test your internet speed. The reason why you need to test your internet speed is just to get an idea of your required internet. And I think pretty much everybody in Japan has this. For video calling, one-on-one, for group video calling, I'd like you to just look at what it says receiving and sending. Most people these days, like my up and down speed, I think is about maybe 90 Mbps. And I'm assuming that I think most of you guys also have pretty much maybe the same thing. So we are way above these requirements, but it's just a good thing to know what you need in order for like smooth video calling at 1080p HD. So take a look at that real quick. So it's 3 Mbps mostly for group video calling, for sending and receiving HD video, and we're way above that, so I think it's good. And if you click on this picture on the right, you'll see a list of really reliable internet providers. It's in Japanese, so yes. Okay, finally, we're getting more into the meat of things. Computers. So my current setup right now is a desktop computer that's connected to my TV, and I have a DSLR camera connected as my webcam, and a field recorder microphone. And there are many options for computers: desktop, laptop, tablet. There's many combinations. Some people use a laptop connected to a monitor. Mac or PC, the debate goes on and on. The link is there for you guys. All of these operating systems, it doesn't matter depending on what you're comfortable with. Boot Camp allows you to run Windows on your Apple OS. My recommendation though, and even though I'm on a desktop PC right now, the new M1 chip from Apple is looking really nice. So if you're buying a new computer, I suggest looking into iMacs or MacBooks with the M1 chips. Um, the minimum specs. Now, these are the specs that I use and that you would want to look for in your current computer, desktop, what have you. Um, it's a little bit technical stuff, I'm sorry, but if you can find the system specs of your PC, laptop, if you can run a processor i5 at 2.6, and if you have memory of 8 MB, and if your hard drive has about 125 gigabytes of space, it's an SSD, not an HD drive. If you have these things, you can pretty much run a very smooth online teaching setup, even with like a nice microphone, or there won't be lag, there won't be so much delay. You're pretty much good with this. Recently, you have like the i7 right now, and computers go as fast as maybe 3.3 to 4 gigahertz. But as long as you have this, you're good, and it's not that as expensive as it looks. So this is what actually I have right now, and I'm using. So you should aim for this, because anything below that you might have problems with slowing down. So yeah. Quick tips: make sure if you have an laptop to elevate it so as to avoid overheating. I have a can of compressed air that I buy, and I usually try to spray my laptop and my keyboard and my computer, because dust tends to accumulate. And make sure you get surge and overload protectors. I'll have links to all of these later. And if you guys are really into making your own PC, that website I recommend, pcpartpicker.com. Also, last thing, make sure you clean your PC and your Mac, and there's some free software there for you guys as well, just in case things start to slow up for you. There you go. There's the monitors. I've seen a lot of monitors during these past couple of months, and you can sum it up basically like that. What are the uses of monitors? Obviously, you have to look into: are you teaching? Are you doing research? Are you hosting a big Zoom event that requires several monitors? The most monitors I've seen somebody have is maybe 8. I think it was last Jolt, I think. One is really just okay, guys. You don't want to go overkill. If you have some extra money, go for 2 monitors. The question is, what would you use that extra monitor for? I have a pretty big monitor right now, and I can only look at just maybe the left and right side. I can't look at more than 3 things at the same time. I don't think, unless somebody's invented more than 2 eyes, I really don't think you need more than 3 monitors for just basic daily stuff. There are links there to physical and the productivity benefits, though, of 2 monitors. And I think the research is in, but it's sort of just really negligible. But apparently, if you have 2 monitors, it helps you, I guess, with your neck. It doesn't hurt as much, and you tend to do things more efficiently. The exact percentage, I don't know. It really depends on what you're doing, but you have that, I guess, excuse if you want to get another monitor. But again, currently I just have 1 monitor that I use, and it's fine as long as you can manage your space well. Like, you're having your your students on the right side, and on the left side is the document. That's pretty much what you require most of the time. These are the basic specs. You may want to just get a 23 or 24-inch monitor that's 1080p, because that seems to be the standard. 27 also, but if you're getting 27, make sure you bump up the resolution to 1440p, so a little bit higher than 1080p. 4K, it's really up to you. If you're watching 4K video, then you can go for it, but it's significantly more expensive. Other technical things that you just want to ask is basically the aspect ratio should be 16 to 9, which I think is standard, and the refresh rate, as much as possible, should just be at 60. Anything more than that, you're probably you want to just consider it for gaming. But this is the basic standard monitor specs that you want to go for. Um, you can also see that there's different orientations. Some people put it vertically and horizontally, possibly for spreadsheet work and other things. So it's actually really fun when you get into it. But again, don't try to don't overdo things. Um, TV as a monitor. Some people have asked me if that's a good idea or not. I really don't. I sort of got used to it, but I'm using a 40-inch right now, and there's only so much that you can look at. Of I think vertically it's all right, but horizontally, I have to like go like move my tilt my head up high. So I don't recommend it, but it does save you a lot of space because you have a TV which you also use as a computer. Um, so, but if you're getting anything above maybe like 30 inches, you may want to just get a 4K monitor. Um, so yeah, but I wouldn't recommend it. But there's an option for you guys. Window screens per monitor. I touched upon this lately, just a while ago. Just keep it at maybe two screens. I mean, two Windows screens, and that's the only. That's what I can recommend, pretty much. Um, and when you get the monitor, try to look for USB ports and switches. That because it's convenient if you have a USB port on your monitor, you don't have to buy something separate for it. Uh, some people have connected their iPads and used it as extra monitor. Of course, they have a MacBook and then they use the iPad as an extra monitor. You need software for that. Some of it's default from Sidecar. Duet is something for those that have MacBooks less than like older than 2016, I think. All right. So when you get a monitor too, be sure that you make on the monitor arm that you see on the right side is very important. Make sure you don't you buy a relatively sturdy one with good reviews because having a monitor arm is really helpful. You'll notice because you can move your second monitor back and forth, and it allows for a lot of really cool combinations on how you work on your desk space. So, yes. All right. Okay. Going forward, there's also monitor buying guide for you guys. These are the brands that I recommend. All of them seem to be pretty decent. Dell AOC, Acer, and ViewSonic. Okay, here we go. Camera. Look at the cameras on the right. Um, there's a lot of them. I'll go through all of them. I recommend you guys look through the camera shot angles. I think I might actually click on these to show you guys how important it is. Um, right now I'm looking at you at a normal angle, but low angle, I've noticed some people use things at low angles, and the reason is obviously creates an impression of power in a subject. I don't think that's true, but you want to keep it just normal, I guess, eye level. High angle, you might want to play around with it sometimes if you want to get people's attention. Um, Shot sizes. These are different kinds. So, well, I think what I have right now and the one that works for me is I'm talking to you at maybe a medium close up, which is MCU, the lower right, the lower left one. You can do a close up too if you want to emphasize something. But play around with these film shots and play around with these angles to get the most benefit, I guess, or impact, as they say. Okay. And right, there are different kinds of cameras that you can use. Most common is the webcam, I guess. You plug it in your USB. Logitech's one of the popular brands. You can use your phone as a webcam as well. Some people use their tablets. Action cameras, surprisingly, the GoPro can also be used as a camera. I'll have a slide later devoted on to for a DSLR, which is basically using these expensive cameras as webcams without any downsides. Well, there are downsides, but yeah. But most of the time, people use webcams. It's really cool if you notice the webcam that's on the right hand side of the Logitech, the one that has sort of a ring light. It's included on the link that I'll send you guys later. I have a list of all of these products, but you don't have to buy an extra light because the light is provided for you, and it's sufficient to just light you. I think it's really a nice thing. And when you buy these webcams, they always have like this latch thing that you can sort of put it on top of your monitor, so there's no problem really of like setting it up somewhere. The picture at the lower part, the lower right, is I actually saw it from on Facebook. I thought it was interesting that people sometimes connect an extra camera on their Zoom and use it to show their students um, their textbook. Or of course, you could always take a picture of it, but this is also nice too. The quality. If you some laptops are still at 480, which is a lot of the new standard, I guess, these days is maybe 720p and 1080p when you buy these webcams. So try to look for that. The DSLR is obviously on 1080p right now. I don't think we're at the point that we have 4K streaming yet, and I don't think it's really necessary. But most of your Apple phones these days are probably 720, so you don't really have to worry about this. If your quality is low, if you notice that you're more pixelized than others, it's probably because you are less than 720p and you're probably at 480. What are the uses? I've touched on this really quickly. You can use it as a whiteboard. You can use it to monitor. I've noticed some people have use like a camera and a tablet to enter different breakout rooms at the same time, just to monitor their students. So that's something to keep in mind. Guys, if you're spending more than 20,000 above for a webcam, and they do get to that price, you might as well get like a DSLR that you can just use for streaming for your online classes, and at the same time you can always just detach it and bring it around and take photos outside. That's just my general recommendation. Yeah, so that's I think that's all I have for camera. Oh, some people have also want to know if you want to turn your phone or tablet into a webcam, you may need certain software. I've included a variety of software for you guys. Some of it's paid, some of it's free. Mac, I think, and Windows. Most of these might just click on that. I think these are mostly for Apple and Windows, but they're straightforward to use. So I've used Epocam before. Other brands that I recommend are Logitech, Razer, and Helicom. So when you go shopping, try to look for these brands. They tend to have better warranty. Okay. DSLR as a webcam. Here we go. DSLR as a webcam is the main reason, I guess, why I was asked to do this presentation. The two reasons are basically because it gives you a certain depth of, like the quality is obviously there, and also bokeh, which means like the depth of field. Like you can see that even though my background is a little bit messy, it's blurred, so it has a really nice effect. The connection for this, some people have asked me, do you need a capture card? And my answer to that is basically, if you can connect your existing DSLR by USB, you shouldn't have a problem. You just probably have to go and download the software for it. So the basic thing that you need to do is find out where you're, if you have a DSLR, go to the website, and I'll have a list of websites for you guys later. If it's a Canon, you have to go to the Canon website, download the webcam software and install it and connect it by USB cable. The only time you need a capture card is when you have an HDMI out and where you don't have an option to connect your camera by USB. It's a very simplified way of saying it, but I do have on the file that I'll be sending you guys later a list of each camera brand along with like the website that you have to go to, as well as a tutorial on how to set up your specific brand of DSLR. The lenses that you need to use, there are two types. The one that I use right now is a fixed lens. You may want to also have a zoom lens as well, which means that it's adjustable. The most important thing I found out, I think, is the focal length. The lower it is, the wider. Basically, you want to get something that's 17 to 28, because if you get anything past that, the length of the distance between you and the camera is actually just maybe 2 feet. If you have a lens that is greater than maybe 28, it's just going to zoom right into your face. And so, so basically 17 to 28 is the lens focal length that you want to get when you're using your DSLR as a webcam. I think I use a 28, yeah. And the bokeh setting, which means the stuff that's getting blurred in the background, you can keep it to maybe 1.8 to 3.5. There's a setting for the f-stop. I know it's a little bit technical, but if you guys can Google that, and you can find out that the higher the number is, the more everything gets clear behind you, basically. But to get that blurry background effect, 1.8 to 3.5 is what I found out works best. These are a lot of details that I wish I had more time to go through, but make sure that you get a clean output, enable HD on Zoom, and mirror camera is basically, if you don't like this side, you can flip it to the other side, depending on which you think is better. These are options that you want to play around with. Some issues that people have told me while using their DSLRs, it overheats, and sometimes there are time limits. Again, you might have to do individual research depending on your camera brand. I don't have these issues with my Canon. I think these are issues that are not as prevalent as much. Power supply as well. That's one thing, I guess, that is kind of tricky. When you're using a DSLR, you're constantly, it's constantly on. So you may have to buy something separate, like a separate power supply that you can just plug in. I've been using like batteries for the longest time, and I don't really recommend it because at any moment I could just cut. I think it lasts for an hour maybe, but then after that I have to replace the batteries. So consider having an adapter power supply. Extra things, DSLR accessories. You're gonna find out all about these things when you get into it. Mounts, jaw arms, and tripods. Tripods you can get as small as this, depending on. So it doesn't take that much space, if you can see in the camera now. There are also bigger tripods, but do you really need a bigger tripod? Think about that before you buy it. Mounts are basically what you can see on the top right hand side right now of the slide, and I recommend I recommend that because it's a very easy way to adjust the camera. You basically screw the bottom part of your DSLR to that apparatus that you see there. If anybody wants to know more about this, I can tell you later. But when you do get the DSLR, you have to consider these things on how you're going to set it up on your desktop. For people that want to play around more with the settings, software-wise, I've included 2 links for you guys there as well. So, okay. All right. Lighting basics. Okay. 3-point lighting, light patterns. There's basically, I'm going to click on this and show you guys. I think I still have time. What I recommend is knowing these 3 types of lighting and how it affects your light shown on you. So the key light is the primary source. The fill light cancels the shadow, and the backlight, people rarely use the backlight, but it sort of adds like a background effect behind you. The next thing, light patterns. Oh, I think what I have right now, I have some shadow on my face right now, so I believe that's Rembrandt. So there's actually 5 different kinds of lighting, and you're trying to figure out what type of feeling or mood that you're going for. I think 1 is flat. There's too much of that. You may want a little bit of shadow, but look at these pictures later and find out which works best for you. So yes, 3-point lighting and the lighting patterns. Next thing, light basically sets the mood. I have an option with my LED light to change colors, and depending on, most of the time I use daylight, and the definition of warm and daylight, just to clarify it for you guys. So warm is on the left, and right on the right side is more natural daylight. It really depends what your mood is, and you can use it to different effect as well. I always mostly go for the natural daylight. So remember the difference between those two, and remember that light sets the mood. Next thing, you have to think about your light when it comes to like the morning, the afternoon, or night. There are many different ways that your office can look like, and it adds type of variety to it, just if you get tired of it. And it's really good to know this because there's different types of backgrounds or lighting effects that you can do for your class. I'll show you 2 of them here. They look completely different. You can see this one here. This is the more of a night setup, right? And you have another setup here, which is more of a warm setup. And all of these have to do with light. And you play around with it long enough, and you get a good idea of what type of light. If you want to have warm, light or you know daylight. So um, yeah, use a lux light meter. It basically checks out how much light you're actually using in the room and whether you have to make adjustments or not. There's an Android and Apple link for you guys. Okay, so here's a bunch of lighting ideas for you guys, and there you go. Most of the time, people, I'm gonna keep it. Before I go more into details, the most basic thing you need is probably just a ring light. I'm using a ring light right now, and one is fine. But if you want to do other things like what I said a while ago with trying to fix the shadows, adding more of a mood or feeling, you might want to get another light. And but from the basic stuff is basically a ring light. You also have, if you have a desktop lamp, you can use that as well. LED panels. LED panels, for example, is the one that you can see, I believe here, and that's an LED panel. They come very very thin these days, so if you want, you can use these. It's very helpful. Um, LED strips, the ones that you see on the right side, they are basically just to add accents. Although some people have used this as a main light as well. They've played around with it, but most of the time you use this for accent lighting or just having a cool effect on your desk. Um, yes, and here, the last thing that I'm circling is something that I highly recommend. It's a very powerful light that you sort of uh, can use, and it's very small, it's very compact, but it's actually very, very powerful. I'll sort of share to you guys right now what I'm talking about. If you can see that I still have a little bit of shadow right now on me, and I'm having on the side view, I'm going to turn on that light if I can. Let me see. And just, I switch it on like this, you can see it. It's a very powerful light, and you can see that my shadows are sort of eliminated. It's added a little bit more. I don't know if it's a decent effect or not, but so yeah. And so I really recommend using like this. It's really cheap, and I have a link for it later. I think it's only like maybe 3,000 yen. It's very tiny. You can put it on a tripod, and you can move it around and play around with it and see which gives you like the best type of lighting. So, all right. So back to the presentation. Um, you have to have a minimum of two, maximum of two. I feel the key, and the fill light, which I mentioned a while ago. Play around with the lights in different positions, see what works best for you. And what I mentioned a while ago about the small LED light is that try to get the ones that are adjustable by the type of color. You can actually adjust this to have more of a warm setting. And if you can, make sure that the LED lights that you buy have clips on them. So get the adjustable ones, and we're talking about adjusting the color and also adjusting the power setting. You can increase or sort of decrease the light. You can either add light or decrease it, and so those are two nice features. So when we're talking about adjustable, we're adjusting the color and the power. Don't try to overdo it. I did this before. I got umbrellas, light bulbs, and soft boxes. Soft boxes are like really big, really big things that you don't really need. So I recommend just keeping it simple. And it was too bulky. Basically, it took up a lot of space. And basically, with the thing that I showed you a while ago, which is the LED panel and this small LED light, they're sufficient enough to just get you started off, and it's way more than enough. So okay, all right, and clear the. All right, the next thing I wanted to talk about is backgrounds and whiteboards. Some teachers have decided to just use either their virtual backgrounds, um, and some people have even used OBS. That's a completely different other presentation. Some people have also used the green screen, and there's two types of green screens, the roll-up and the panel type. I recommend the panel type because the panel type is something that's foldable. You can fold it up, and then you can keep it much more easier than like a roll up is. So, but it really depends on your preference, I guess. Personally, I prefer the panel type. Virtual backgrounds, some people use whatever default stuff that they have on Zoom. But I personally don't use the green screen as much, but I do have a list of recommendations for you guys should you choose to want to play around with it or buy it. Okay. All right. So let me see. Okay. Microphones. This is probably like the last part. Oh, what happened here? Sorry. As you can see here, what I'm using right now is the field recorder. And before I say it though, audio over video is the most important thing. So you can have a standard webcam, but make sure you spend a decent amount of money on a really nice microphone, because it's the one thing that most of your students will recognize or people will notice is that, wow, he sounded really good or she sounded really good. So that's the priority that I would put. You have the USB types, which you can plug in. You can see the ones here. Let me try to annotate that. Here and here, these are the USB types. Try to get it outside of the frame if you can. Mine is slightly in, well, mine is in the frame. So the one that I use is the field recorder, and I use it because it's easily detachable and I can bring it somewhere else if I want to. And I feel like it's much more, I guess, compact for me. The USB microphones tend to take a lot of space. In terms of quality, though, I've noticed that they're pretty much all the same. Like if you choose a field recorder or a USB mic or a lav mic, the one on the top left right here, is the most mobile one because you could just sort of clip it. You can attach it to, you can plug it in your computer, and then you can just attach it. You can clip it on your neck, as I'm doing right now, and you can just go. It allows for more mobility, whereas if you have a USB or a field recorder, your voice kind of changes. You can't hear me, but then I have to always go here to get it, but you don't have that problem with the lav mic. So yeah. Be careful of feedback. That's something that I had to learn a lot about. Make sure it's not near of the speakers or anything. And these are the accessories that you have to think about as well. So this is a cool app. It actually changes your voice, so you can play around with that as well. I recommend it. Some of these things are just extra stuff. The last site I recommend, just to drive the point around that the quality is really not that different. Like only serious audiophiles will know the difference between a really, 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 really expensive microphone and a semi-expensive microphone. So it's all about sometimes tweaking the software settings. But this gives you an idea. If you were to purchase an expensive microphone, you go to this website, it will play you the audio clips from different types of microphones and different brands. That being said, whichever works for you, lav mic, USB mic, or the field recorder. Most of them, they're all connected via USB, and this one is a 3.5. And these are the brands that I recommend as well. Headphones, I don't think, do I have enough time for headphones?
Well, why not go into it? We're at noon right now, but I think it's worth it. We all use them.
Sure. Okay, sorry. 2020 for your ears. Somebody told me that, which I thought was really interesting. If you want to, you have 2020 glasses, you may want to have 2020 for your ears. You have options for headphones, and you can choose either headsets, some, or earbuds. Headsets and earbuds already have microphones on them, but some don't, so please watch out for that. You nailed two birds with one stone, basically, if you have a headset or earbuds, because you're listening to it, and at the same time you have a microphone attached to it as well. Consider the weight. The number one thing is that if you have headphones, they're really heavy, and after like 3 consecutive classes, you really start to feel the weight of headphones. So in lieu of that, perhaps maybe a smaller one like you see on the right side. Headsets, probably the ones that you see right here. So Yes. Um, just some terminology for you and some brands. So if you're considering some audio things, like try to get BXI sound panels, or you can also just buy foam on Amazon to dampen the noise if you have problems with echo, or just having cork boards actually helps with sound as well. If you want to know more about it, there's this YouTube channel from Curtis Judd, and there's tons of stuff here that you can find out more about it. Other accessories. I think I'm just gonna make time for, what time is it right now? It's already 12, so I'm just going to stop right here and send everybody the PDF, because I just want to make. Sorry, I didn't really estimate the time so well, but yeah. So if you guys have any questions, I'm sorry, I didn't anticipate the how much I would get into it, but I am sending the PDF right now to everybody. So yeah, if anybody has any questions.
Feel free to throw your questions in the chat, or if you want to unmute your microphone, everybody. And as you kind of give your questions and a bit of a thought, Timothy Yang, thank you so much. That is as detailed as I expected based on our conversations in the past. Always learned some ideas from you, and that is fabulous.
Thanks, man.
Thank you so much. I have one suggestion. Have you ever thought about, when I play in a band and we record music and stuff like that? And have you noticed people online using pop shields? I always use my earbuds, but with microphones like yourself, I know Jose, Dave Juteau, they tend to use microphones. Do you find people are using pop shields in front of their microphone, kind of like a recording star, might do? Or
I sort of haven't installed it yet, but you have like these, what do you call these? The muffy bunny thingies that you put on top, and it's sort of supposed to help it. So you can either use these things, or you can also use the pop filter. I do notice that my P's are more pronounced, but there are options. I think it's called low cut. If you turn it on, it reduces the sound of the P's. But the pop filter is, I think I included a list of that as well. If you guys click on one more thing, if you guys click on the end of my presentation here, if you click on my recommend list, it'll basically show you everything that I've gathered, like the resources and tutorials. They're all pretty much here. I still need to fill up some of them, but I do believe that there's pop filters there. But yeah. Oh, okay. Go for it, Jose.
Just a point of naming. What you were holding there, Timmy, that's called a dead mouse.
Dead mouse. I always.
That's literally called a dead mouse. And the long ones that go on to boom mics, those are called dead cats. Dead cats were around long before dead mice. So of course the name dead mice came after dead cat, because it looks like a dead cat stuck on a boom mic.
Yeah, I'm trying to. Yeah, so
awesome.
Highly recommend. Yeah, so dead mouse and dead cat. Those I always forget what those are.
I would think that would be better than a pop shield, because when you're speaking with people, you don't want that pop shield in front of your mouth, you know what I mean, and your face in particular, right?
Yeah, I'm trying to actually. I mentioned this a while ago. I'm trying to figure out the best way possible to move this microphone so that nobody can see it. It's just not my thing, but it's more of an aesthetic thing than anything.
Yeah, it's an aesthetic. And if I may again, this is a pop shield.
Yep.
Yeah.
What David has, which is a traditional singer's pop shield, is usually used only in voice recording or in oral recording studios, because you're not on camera. Yeah. If you're on camera, you really do want a pop shield like this. It basically wraps around the entire microphone. Or, as Timmy said, learn how to position your microphone. Sorry, your microphone. We're talking about microphones. I'll learn to position your microphone. What you can do, Timmy, maybe is just to point it down, because I think what's happening is your voice is going straight into the pickup, the angle of it. So if this is your face, you're kind of looking straight at it. But if you point
I should also include
the microphone down
next time on how it's like the angling or the positioning is.
It makes a big difference.
Yeah,
it makes a big difference. Oh, and the other thing too. Sorry, Nate. A dead cat is not orally as good as a pop filter. Pop filter is more transparent. A dead cat is used only in high wind situations. If you're literally outside and there's a lot of wind, you'll see dead cats on commentators. But otherwise, a foam cover or a pop shield like this will actually be much better orally. Sorry, I'm talking.
Yeah, definitely different purposes kind of thing. And that, yeah, as you said, the dead mouse, didn't know what they were referred to as, but I've got students who use those. Yeah, definitely. And when you're in a room, whatever. But I agree that one of those wraparound pop shields is definitely the best. Yeah, I'm like Dave. I've got one of the round ones, but I only use it for recording audio when I'm not singing poorly, kind of thing. So,
Yep.
do we have any other questions before we kind of wind things down? Timmy has graciously given us the link to the presentation as well as a PDF for the hardware setup. So
All
download
the
those
links should be
now.
there. Yeah.
And thank you very much, Timmy. That's the one glory about this kind of thing is people sharing, right? And
Yeah.
yeah,
It's stuff that I've sort of accumulated, and I'm still like learning a lot of new things, but they're all sort of just the basic stuff I've already got. So, but anything past that, I think, is for pure hobbyists. But my setup right now, there's probably a little bit of stuff that I want to play around with, but I found that audio, like the basic thing is that you make sure that your audio is really nice. Make sure you try to keep things simple. Don't overbuy stuff. Use what you already have. And if you do have a DSLR, go for it. Play around with it. Try to make it into a webcam. That's all.
great. Now I just saw the question like, when will the video be available? I've got a back channel going on my other computer here, and people are asking, and the response is in the very near future it'll be announced. So the videos for the presentations through this event through the day will be available. Just sit tight, and you'll get a message one way or another, but they will become available.
Awesome.
So I'm going to stop the recording now, but that doesn't mean you have to log out. Just where it'll be available, that I am not completely sure with at the moment. I'm just having a look at my back channel going on here. I assume through either the Eventzilla website and or probably posted, online in social media. Those of you that attended, you can access this through whatever. Don't have a specific answer for you, but it will be available and you will get the information. So I'm going to kill the recording right now, but it doesn't mean you have to leave the room just yet. Thank you so much, Timmy Yang. That was brilliant.
Thanks, man.